Hi, this is Jesse Brisnine. I believe that it is possible to live an extraordinary life after loss, and to do that, one must first choose to heal. This podcast is focused on sharing with you inspiring stories, tangible tools, and life strategies to help you heal from your loss. Right, we are back for another Moving Forward moment. And today, Christina has graciously taken the time to share some of her story and her journey with us today. Christina, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. So, we were talking a little bit off camera just about some of the other interviews, and you said you had watched them and they'd been helpful for you. And I was sharing kind of my experiences about them and what I've learned from them. What's kind of your story? What's brought you here today?
Gosh, I've had a series of unfortunate events on a lot of things, but mainly it started 5 years ago. My youngest son was killed in a car accident, and he was 22. He was one that was always really goofy, the youngest boy. I guess he didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
But when he passed, I always knew something. I know this sounds ridiculous maybe to some, but I always felt like my sons were going to pass. I have 4 boys and a girl. I had one in Afghanistan at the time, and our thought process was, he volunteered to go over the second time, blah, blah, blah. And we just kept on saying, you're putting yourself in danger. I've had that feeling that something was going to happen. And, it did. And I was laying in bed, and we lived pretty close to the police station and such. And I felt like I was dreaming, but I knew I wasn't dreaming. And I heard, "I'm so sorry to leave you, Mama."
Huh.
And I knew, I heard the sirens go. I heard the police cars go. And of course was sick. And when we got the knock on the door a couple minutes later, because it was only, a mile from my house, that's, it was what I thought. And that set me off because he was one of my closest. He was, we understood each other.
Yeah.
He would tease me all the time because I was very much into, I'd watch a medium on television, or I've always had those instincts, and and he would tease the heck out of me, and he's like, "Well, when I come back, the lights are going to come on and off, and blah, 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 blah," and just tease me and tell me I was crazy for watching it. And now that, since he has passed, I've had, so much happen. Just so much happen. All the goofy things, of course.
I was going to ask, has he come back and turned the lights on and off?
Oh, he definitely has. The lights have gone on and off. And now his nephew, my grandson, will go, "Graham, the smoke alarm's going off in Jared's room again. You want to go?" We don't even have to turn it off, because as soon as we go down and acknowledge that it happened, it turns off. So we're like, okay, we know it's you, Jared. Same with the lights. My husband thought he was crazy, and I thought I was crazy. We both kind of kept it to ourselves. But we thought, gosh, every time we turn that one light off, it goes back on. And finally, he said something to me. I'm like, oh, good, I'm not crazy. It's happening to you too, okay. So, and actually, we got to talk with, and I don't know, Teresa Caputo happened just to be in the area, and we went to see a show, and she actually came to us and said, "Okay, your light's going on and off. Is your smoke alarm ringing?" I'm like, "Yes."
No kidding.
Came over and talked with us for about half an hour. So,
wow, yeah. I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, he just, and I've had all those things happen anyway. So those are the things that I kind of get joy out of.
Christine, I'm so glad you've touched on this, because I think this is something that one of the things I talk with folks about in this space is that, I think one of the biggest challenges of loss is there's this belief that now that the person's gone, everything about them is gone too. The relationship, the love, the connection. And I really believe that if we can step outside of the pain long enough to allow ourselves to be open, like I'm hearing from you, we can form these really special bonds and connections with people that can continue beyond physical death, to the point where they can show up in our lives and and be present if we just allow ourselves to be aware to their presence.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Oh,
I was just going to ask, do you find that, have you always been open to that? Is it something that you've learned? Is it something that you were raised with? Like, where does that openness for you? Or is it something that maybe it's not an openness, it's just something intuitively you've always known?
It's always been a part of me. My parents always teased me and thought I was, they're just like, that's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. My brothers also teased me all the time. My kids did. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, I just know. When I know, I know,
Yeah.
And, they've all learned that their mother's right, of course. So, but I think because of that, I am able to see different things that maybe someone hasn't seen or heard or felt, because he knows that I was open to that, and he knows what I look for, I guess.
Yes. What have you done, or have you done anything that you're consciously aware of? Because I think this is such an important attribute, skill set for people to cultivate. Has there been anything that you've done that to help you cultivate this openness, to help you be more conscious of being aware, if that makes sense?
I don't know if it's anything I've done. It's something I've learned. Something I've learned throughout my life, and maybe was being prepared for it. I don't know how else to say it. I would wake up and there would be a certain number on the clock all the time, and I'd wake up my husband and I'd be like, Stacey, it's not a coincidence. This is my kids would tease me. My number was 213. So I'd wake up all the time. So my boys would tease me, and they actually both played football. Two of them did, and they both got the number 13, so they could tease me that they were 213s.
Yeah, I was just going to say, wow.
So many 213 things have happened, good and not so great. I had a son arrested for stealing flamingos out of someone's yard, and the officer came knocking at 213. I'm like, oh my goodness, But through that, it's been a family thing.
Yeah.
And there is, after Jared's passing, my son's youngest daughter was born 13 hours later, and she was in room 213.
Wow, no kidding.
And I'm like, that's not a coincidence. It's like, it's just saying, I'm here. It's okay. Yeah. I see what's going on. And that was only 13 hours after. We also had another grandson born 2 years ago. And I talked to Jared a lot, and I said, okay, she's in labor, and I just need to know for sure if you have, spirit to spirit contact. I just want to know if you met, his name is Knox. And I'm like, okay, just give me a really, really good sign so I know that you know. And that baby was born at 213.
Wow, no kidding.
My kids are all like, oh boy.
Mom might be onto something here.
Yeah. Well, and the year that he passed was 213. So I'm like, maybe that's why I was being, and now it has turned to a better state but that's always been our tease. Well, today I was talking to one of my sons while I was driving down the road, and at 213, a white dove came out. There's no white doves in the middle of Missouri.
Yeah.
in the country. So
wow.
We had that experience prior to what I had today. So I knew I was supposed to definitely talk to you, even though we've had our time, having a hard time getting together, but I knew for sure he wanted this to happen. So
I'm so grateful are talking about this right now, because I think, and in my heart, I believe that this is something that a lot of people have intuitively felt at one time or another, but it's dismissed because it's cuckoo or it's crazy or it's too woo-woo or something like that. And it's something personally I can attest to, with just, and I mean, I could give you so many experiences, but one example that's been one of the most powerful for me in my life is my first real significant loss I've had. And I call it the first real significant one because it was one of my closest friends committed suicide almost. It'll be, gosh, I can't even believe it, but it'll be 9 years ago next month. And he had set it up where I would find him, and I choose to believe that he did that because he felt I'd be the one that could best handle it. But there's two things about this that are really unique that happened before he died and after. The first one is 2 weeks before he died, I had picked him up. He had called me, and he was going through a visibly tough time. I picked him up, brought him to my house, and at the time I had this couch. It was a blue couch that was in kind of an L shape, and I would always sit at the far end, and then he went to sit down in the corner. But as he was sitting down in the corner, as clear as I'm seeing you right now, I saw the word suicide flash in front of me. And I remember it was so crystal clear, Christina, that it was just, I know it was there. I saw it. And I remember telling myself, saying, no, he's going to be okay. He's talking to me. I'm going to be able to help him. And I was so certain of seeing it that when everything happened and the police were there and I had to, they had to talk with us just to make sure and rule everything out. They said, well, why did you come looking for him? And I told them about it because it was just, it wasn't crazy to me at all. I knew what I had seen. 6 months after he had passed, I was in a hotel and I had a cold, flu, whatever it was. And I'd gone to sleep that night, and about midnight, a little after midnight, I heard the door open. And I'm thinking, wait, who in the hell's in my room right now? And my heart's racing and I'm sweating because I'm already sick. And I heard footsteps clack, clack, clacking across the tile floor. I'm thinking, who the hell's here wearing dress shoes or high heels or whatever it is? And I remember my heart just starting to pound because I'm trying to make a decision here. Like, do I jump up and is this maybe just some drunk person that stumbled in the wrong room? So I kind of sit there, and then I can feel the bed. Somebody sit down on the bed right next to my head. And I remember taking a deep breath and rolling over, and it was my friend Gabe. And I remember seeing him, and he would always get these really lazy eyes after he'd been drinking. And my first literally thought was, really, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I got to be dreaming. And so I looked around the whole room, and I could see everything as clearly as I'm seeing you right now, exactly where I'd put it. Everything was in place. Everything was where I'd set it up. And I asked him, I said, what are you doing here? And he looks at me and he says, what do you mean what I'm doing here? I just got back from the club. And I said, no, what are you doing here? We ended up having this conversation. I don't know if it was 5 minutes. I don't know if it was 25 minutes. It was so unbelievably powerful. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now, just reliving it in my head. And I don't remember if we said goodbye or I fell back to sleep. But anyways, I woke up in the morning, and so growing up, I'm 6'4", 200, almost 30 pounds. I grew up in a twin bed. So I'm used to not moving at all when I sleep. I mean, if I move, I fall off the bed. And this was a big bed. It was a king size bed. When I woke up in the morning, I remember sitting up in bed and going, what in the hell just happened? Was it real? I got up, I walked around, went to the bathroom. When I walked back to the bed, I looked where he had been sitting. There was a full butt imprint in the pillow.
Oh, wow.
And it was such an eye-opening thing for me. And so to my point of my gratitude for you opening up and sharing it is, I think that these experiences, I really believe that our loved ones still can be a part of our life, and that we can all connect like that. It doesn't mean they're going to be there all the time.
Agreed.
right? Because they have to do their own thing,
Exactly.
and but they can show up and they can be there. And I've had experience with my dad afterwards. He passed. My very best friend was also killed in a car accident in 2013, and I've had some really powerful conversations with him too that have been really cathartic. And it's something that I think it's allowing yourself to be open to the possibility. And I don't know about you too, but one thing I found is it's not something I can force. It's never something I can force and just say, but it's something where I just allow myself to be open to it. It's when I can start noticing it, to the point now where there'll be times where I'll be driving the car by myself and I'll just have this feeling.
Yeah.
Right. This absolute certainty of feeling that it's one of them.
Right there. Yeah.
And so I will say their name out loud.
Mm-hmm, me too.
Right. But you can feel.
You can feel the presence right there.
Yeah. 100%. And it's unmistakable feeling. It's such a different physical feeling than you feel in any other thing. And it's there's a couple books I have in the recommended reading list in the group. One of them is called Journey of Souls by Michael Newton, which I think is a really fascinating book. It's a lot of it's transcription from his sessions. He does past life hypnotherapy, but his whole book is written about the soul's experience and the soul's purpose on earth.
Oh, cool.
It's really, really powerful. And then there's another one I just recently finished, and the name is escaping me right now, but it's in the reading list, and it's by a lady who's a forensic pathologist. I'm sorry. And she has all these amazing stories that she's had with people and their families and experiences about just, it can't be a coincidence.
Right.
And it's really beautiful, the story she shares, because I think, one, you can see how cathartic and healing it was for the people who experienced it. But two, as a reader, for me, even though I already believe in all that, it just helps strengthen my belief in it that much more.
Right. I'm not really crazy. It really does happen to other people. But you know that they're there and they're with you. They just have to find a different way to show you, that they hear you, they see you, the whole deal.
And I think, almost too is like the form of communication almost becomes a little bit more, it's a really beautiful form of communication, because listening to ourselves, trusting our intuition, it's a gift that we've all been given, but so many of us have taught ourselves to turn it off and tune into the voices and the stories and all that stuff in here. But it's through certainty and the inner knowing that we really find our way to connect. And it's also, if we just allow that to be our own inner and external guidance, so much more fulfillment and joy can be found in all of our lives.
Yeah, that I think was what really brought me through. Through is the word that you could use. Just knowing that he's not gone. He's still right here with us. There's just so many stories. I just have hundreds since the day he's been gone. I think every day he reassures me, or almost every day. I'm sure he has to visit someone else once in a while. But, we've just had so much happen that has never happened before. His friends will come to me and be like, "You don't understand." He was really into birds. He's like, "You don't understand. Like, I've never seen an owl in my life." And this is right after he passed. And it's like these two owls just came right up next to me. Again, I never saw an owl. Well, I guess I've seen a couple of them for real, but I had one come and just touch my head. I was at the gym, just walking in, touch my head and fly on by. And I was like, goodness gracious, okay, Jer. I had a white dove when I went to visit him in the cemetery that was sitting on his grave. And I'm like, okay, I'm the crazy lady that has to, there's people around. It was Mother's Day. And I'm like, Jer, is that you? I know you're not really the dove, but like, is this you? And then I'm like, I don't even like birds. And this bird is following me around like a little puppy dog. and I'm in heels and, you know, and a dress. And I'm walking around and it follows me everywhere. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to check this bird to see it's like, maybe its wings are clipped and it's just a fluke. I'm just crazy. It had its wings intact. I'm like, okay, just fly up into that tree. If this is for you know, and I do have pictures, and it flew up into the tree and just sat there. And I went to leave and he was gone. So, and I have friends who saw the whole thing, not realizing it was me. So,
oh, no kidding. They didn't know it was you, but they watched the whole thing. Wow.
They were up at the top of the cemetery, and he is down at the bottom of the hill, and they're like, you were the lady. Was there a cat? What was that down there? A bird. And they just started crying. You know, they just were like, gosh, this always happens to you. How do you get it to happen to you? I'm like, you know, I was that close with him, and I feel like our spirits knew. He had also said prior to his death, 2 days, not knowing that, you know, either one of us, but we were both kind of sick and not understanding why we were both ill. We went to the doctors, both of us, and could not figure out why we were feeling so bad. And he did say to me at one point, you know, Ma, I don't think I'm ever going to live past 25, and I don't think I'm ever going to have children. And I'm like, oh, Jerry, you're being stupid. You know, like, you're 22. Don't think that way. And he said, just promise me if anything ever happens to me, you will not let me live on a machine.
Wow.
And so I feel like our spirits knew something was happening. We were going to part. Our bodies just didn't know, and that was the reaction from it.
Wow.
However, you know, like, I know he's around. I think that's gotten me through so much, you know, just gotten me through it. And he was an amazing kid. He still is, you know. And apparently, you know, who knows? My father just passed, and I'm sure they're just hooting and hollering up there, so, or wherever. I'm afraid, kind of, because I don't know what tricks they'll play on me now.
Yeah, now you're gonna get the real jokes coming.
Yeah.
Christina, if you could share one piece of advice for everybody listening and watching, what would that piece of advice be?
I think to be open. Just be open and aware of their spirit. I grew up in a very religious home, and it was kind of, you know, frowned upon, but it was something that I always felt was true and was necessary. And I just think being open would, you know, and just listening, having that quiet time, and I think it'll come.
Christina, thank you so much for being here. This has been such an honor and privilege to share this space with you, and I'm so grateful for you opening the door on this conversation. It's something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's something that my greatest hope is that everybody can allow themselves to have openness and be open to the possibility of it. And I think in that they're going to find comfort and healing. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that for all the times the lights have turned on and off with you. And
see, we get a close. I don't know if we can get a close up or not, but
yeah, I definitely, you know, and if you haven't read it before, check out Journey of Souls. There's a link in the files. Yeah, I think you'll really find a lot of value in it. And I think it's going to, some of what you said in there, it almost sounds like word for word some of what they've said in there too. And I think it'll make some really cool connections for you in that.
And I'm so sorry, my phone is acting up.
Oh, nice.
My book that really helped me and turned that deep raw, you know, horribleness was Tom Zuba's I think was the name, Permission to Mourn.
Permission to Mourn.
My gosh, that just, I don't know, I just read that and it hit me, and it just brought me completely around and really open.
And say the name one more time. Tom Zuba?
Yeah, Tom Zuba, Permission to Mourn.
Okay, I'll check that out. I'd love to read it myself, and then I'll make sure it's on the.
Yeah, it's a really short poem type of read, but it is amazing.
Okay, I'll make sure it's on the reading list too in the group. I think that would be. I'm always looking to learn what other resources have been helpful for people. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Christina, thank you so much for being here. I hope you have an amazing rest of your evening, and
You too.
And keep us posted.
Okay, I will.
You've been listening to Healing from Loss, the podcast. If you found value in this, please subscribe, rate, and review it on whatever platform you're listening to it on. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment and share this with someone who can benefit from it. Until next time, carpe diem. Live this moment in honor of your loved ones.